Look at this painting. Somewhere in it, a boy is drowning. His name is Icarus. He flew too close to the sun. His wings melted and he fell into the sea. It's one of the oldest stories we have, a warning about pride, about ambition, about the price of flying higher than you were built to fly. And Bruegel painted it. Except, where is he? There's a farmer walking behind his plow, eyes on the soil. There's a shepherd staring up at the sky, but not down at the water. There's a fisherman crouched at the edge of the cliff, completely absorbed in his line. There's a ship sailing on, unbothered, its sails full. And down there, almost out of frame, barely more than 2 pale legs kicking out of the water, that's him. That's the boy who fell from the sky. That's the myth. That's supposed to be the whole point of the painting. You could look at this painting for a full minute and never find him. Some people still don't. This isn't an accident. This isn't bad composition from a man who didn't know where to put his figures. This is a decision made again and again and again across an entire career. Because once you notice it here, you start noticing it everywhere. Not just a hidden detail, a whole way of seeing the world.
Take the procession to Calvary. Christ is carrying the cross toward his own execution, arguably the single most important event in the entire Christian story. And where is he in the painting? Somewhere in the middle of a Flemish village, dozens of them, going about their day, gossiping, working, watching a different spectacle entirely. You have to search for Christ the way you'd search for a face in a crowd photograph. Now look at the conversion of Paul. A man falls off his horse on a mountain road and in that single instant stops persecuting Christians and becomes one of the most important figures in the history of the Christian church. It's the kind of moment other painters built entire altarpieces around. A beam of light, a chosen man, the sky splitting open. Bruegel sets it in the middle of an enormous column of soldiers winding through an alpine pass, and Paul himself is just one more small figure among the horses and the armor and the rock, already halfway swallowed by the mountain around him. You have to know to look for him at all. And then there's the Peasant Wedding, where Bruegel doesn't just make the point small, he makes it possibly disappear entirely. Everyone at that table came for one reason: to celebrate 2 people. And yet Bruegel doesn't paint a portrait of a couple. He paints a party. Food carried on a door lifted off its hinges, musicians mid-note, children on the floor, a servant pouring drinks. Historians can point to the bride, quiet and still under her green canopy, but the groom is another matter entirely. Some think he's the man in dark clothes, tankard raised. Others point to Flemish custom. The groom often wasn't allowed to sit at his own wedding feast until evening, which means the man this entire celebration exists for may not even be in the room. Icarus is small. Christ is buried in a crowd. Paul is swallowed by a mountain. The groom might not even be painted at all. 4 paintings, 4 moments that are supposed to be the point. A falling boy, a dying God, a man's entire life changing in an instant, a wedding. And in every single one, the people standing closest to it are the ones who notice it least. This is not a coincidence repeated 4 times. This is a method. And notice what it does to you, the viewer. To find Icarus, you have to search the water the way the farmer never does. To find Christ, you have to scan the crowd the way none of the villagers bother to. Bruegel doesn't just tell you that the world overlooks its own turning points. He makes you spend a full minute overlooking them yourself before you finally see what was there the whole time. But why? It's tempting to say Bruegel is simply hiding the hero from us, that he's playing a game and we're supposed to go find him. But that's not quite what's happening.
Look again at the farmer, plowing his field 2 feet from where a boy is drowning. He's not ignoring the myth. He doesn't know he's standing inside one. For him, this is not the day Icarus fell from the sky. This is just a Tuesday. The field still needs plowing.
whether or not a myth is ending in the water beside it. His story, the one that actually matters to him, is about the furrow in front of him, not the miracle behind him. The villagers in the crowd around Christ aren't blind to suffering. They've simply seen executions before. To them, this isn't the turning point of human history. It's one more procession, one more crowd, one more reason to stop and look for a minute before going back to the market. The soldiers marching Paul's column through that mountain pass aren't ignoring a miracle. They don't know one just happened. To them, this is a column on the move, a road to cover before dark, not the moment a persecutor became a saint. Bruegel isn't hiding the hero from you. He's showing you that for everyone standing around the hero, he was never the hero at all. Every person in these paintings believes, correctly from where they're standing, that they are living inside the main story. Their own labor, their own feast, their own winter to survive. And everyone else, including the boy falling out of the sky, is just background, weather, something happening at the edge of their day. Here's where it gets strange. By the time he began painting any of this, Bruegel had already experienced what that kind of invisibility could look like.
Early in his career, before anyone knew him as a painter, he drew designs for an Antwerp print publisher. Some of those prints were sold under a name that wasn't his, marketed as newly rediscovered works by Hieronymus Bosch, dead for decades but still profitable. The man who'd become one of Europe's most original painters entered the market standing in for someone else's name. Then there's the story his first biographer, Carol van Mander, tells decades later, that Bruegel would dress as a peasant and slip into village weddings with a friend, uninvited, pretending to belong to the family. Fact or flattering legend, the shape of it matches the paintings remarkably well. He doesn't watch the crowd from a window, he disappears into it, perhaps the only way to learn what background actually feels like from inside. And at the end, Van Mander tells one more story. At his deathbed, Bruegel asked his wife to burn a number of his drawings, too sharp, too satirical, too dangerous, in a country where Alba's Council of Troubles was executing people for far less. We'll never know what was in them. A man who spent his career showing us no one is the center of anyone else's story, made sure whatever was left of his own disappeared with him. So look at what we're left with. A painter who understood that the boy falling from the sky is not the center of the world, only the center of ours, watching from outside it. Who showed us Christ disappearing into a crowd that has its own day to get through. Who buried a man's entire conversion in the middle of a marching army already half swallowed by the mountain around him. Who threw an entire painting's worth of celebration for a couple and left even the groom's presence in the room an open question. Who let his own name get printed under someone else's. Who, if the story's true, made himself into background on purpose, just to understand what it felt like from in there. Who had his last private thoughts burned before anyone could read them and turned them into someone else's story. Not Icarus. Not Christ. Not Paul on the road to becoming a saint. Not the groom. And in the end, not even himself. We call that first painting Landscape with the Fall of Icarus. The farmer would have just called it Tuesday.